Conrad Tao, Jacksonville Symphony's current artist in resident, is making his return to Jacoby Hall April 4th and 5th to perform the world premiere of his new work, Clang and Shudder. A world renowned pianist and composer, Conrad Tao joins us now by video. Conrad, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, happy to be here.
I'm also joined in studio by friend of the show and music director for the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra, Courtney Lewis. Courtney, hi.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Glad to have you back. Conrad, I'm going to start with you. You are known for blending traditional and classical music with innovative approaches. What was your creative process like when composing Clang and Shudder for the Jacksonville Symphony?
The first sound that that kind of opened this piece up is the first sound that you hear in the piece, which is these chords at the piano. And I think the image in my mind was like a child banging at a piano. And so these opening chords are like, I guess you could almost call them naive. They're really iconic chords. They're really familiar, and they start from the piano's middle C. And I think I was just imagining like that childish impulse to bang at the piano, and I wanted to see if I could find like what was true about that and what was lyrical about that, and I wanted to kind of tease that out. And so that was really the starting point, and then the piece grew from there, and other feelings and trajectories came out of that. But that was the seed, was just like a child banging at it at the keyboard.
Yeah, there is this sense of onomatopoeia that's happening, and it sounds very basic, but you've been playing piano for so long, yet you're still experimenting with it. Are you still discovering it in some ways?
All the time. I mean, I think I wrote about this in my composer note. When I was thinking about this image of a child and reflecting on the feelings that I was trying to follow, it reminded me of when I get down in a YouTube rabbit hole watching animal videos, and it reminded me of like when I watch puppies play with like doorstops, and or when I watch animals playing musical instruments. There's this kind of raw feedback loop of responding the to the object that is providing you stimuli that you are also feeding into, just this beautiful full circle of output and input and inspiration and curiosity. And I think that that's just always an animating force in my life, and certainly in my work.
Courtney, what excites you most about the premiere of Clang and Shudder?
Well, it's always really exciting to play a new piece
Mhm.
at any point, but it's a particular treat to be doing it with the composer actually playing the solo part. And also, Conrad and I have done a lot of stuff together now, and he's been to the Jacksonville Symphony many times. So there's an element of partnership that there isn't always with the composer when you're doing a piece that he or she is not actually performing in, which is very exciting. But also, having our audience share in this is also something very exciting. And it's in a program which is accompanied by two really iconic masterpieces, Debussy's Nocturne and Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring. So having I think it's fair to call it a reasonably modernist concerto, would you say, Conrad? It's trying to do something new. It's trying to mold materials into a fresh piece. It's well situated between those two other works.
Yeah, and how does it complement it?
Well, despite those two pieces being, as I said, iconic pieces of modernism, they're also really well known. So it's nice to, for once, have the pieces that are usually seen as the modernist pieces, the modern pieces, being the 100-year-old pieces, with a new modern piece by Conrad in the middle.
Conrad, this is not your first rodeo with the Jacksonville Symphony. You've been working with them on several projects. What has been the best part about working with the symphony?
At this point, it's just been such a nice relationship over the years. I first played with the Jacksonville Symphony when I was very early in my career, and still, like, I think maybe I was 16 or 17 the first time I ever came to the orchestra. And then several years later, I came back and worked with Courtney for the first time just a few years ago. And since then have been back multiple times and have gotten to know Courtney and the whole team in Jacksonville. And so it's a great orchestra, it's a great team, it's a great hall. You know, there's really what's not to like. So it's been a really wonderful, positive relationship at this point.
Right. And while you're in town, you're also hosting a masterclass for young musicians. What can the students expect to learn, and what do you hope to learn from in return?
Well, when I'm working with pianists, my interest is pretty much always in uniting the physical experience of playing the instrument with all of the questions of meaning that come up in music. So, how can we unite the literal bodily experience of playing with the questions of drama and narrative and poetry that come up in music all the time? Like, why is this object here and this object is here? And how do we physically maneuver to get there, and why, and what does that mean? And so that's what I love to do when I'm working with pianists, working with performers and instrumentalists. And you're always learning from that as well, because everyone's bodies are different and everyone's going to filter meaning a little bit differently as well. So there is just this constant back and forth.
Very cool. Courtney, how do world premieres like this shape the symphony's artistic vision, and how does it reflect the evolving landscape of contemporary classical music?
That's a wonderful question. One of my core beliefs as a musician and as a conductor is that classical music has to be reflective of the time that we live in. It can't be a museum piece from the past. It's got to be music from today as well. So having a concerto written by a performer that the audience has a relationship with and that's brand new is really special, because it means that the Jacksonville Symphony and our audience is part of creating new works for the future. And that's exactly where I feel we should be. It also means that the repertoire the orchestra has is not just from the past, but also from the music of today.
I'm going to leave you guys with one final question. What do you hope the audience takes away from this experience?
I hope they feel part of the creation of a new piece of art, which is one of the most exciting things you can experience in a concert.
And for me, one alternative title for this piece is Piano Concerto in C major. And I think I wanted to write a piece that infused this familiar idea of C major and some very, very familiar sounds with a kind of fuzziness and wildness and messiness. And so I hope that people pick up a little bit of that and maybe carry it with them outside of the concert hall.
Wonderful. Well, it was great having you guys. April 4th and 5th.
That's right.
Tickets still available?
Yes.
And jacksymphony.org.
Correct.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Conrad Tao, Courtney Lewis, anytime.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank
Bring it
you.
back.